Hey YouTubers, DPG here, David Patrick Green, and today I just wanted to teach you guys something that I think will come in handy very soon down the road. If you are following some of my other advice, then you should have the opportunity to use this advice very soon. This is the professional level, and really I just wanted to talk about how I became a recurring actor on the TV show The Expanse. And really using the same techniques, I have had recurring roles on 6 different TV shows. So what it boils down to is it's not really all about necessarily having a recurring role to start with. Often roles are not advertised as recurring, and so it is up to you to make them recurring. And that's primarily the method I used to try and ensure that I'm not only seen once on a TV show, but I am seen multiple times. And the way to do that is quite simple. I'm not here to talk about how you book the job originally. That's through an audition, that's through a separate process. But what you want to do is, once you book your first role, and let's say, well, it doesn't matter really how big it is or how small it is. When you get to set, you want to make yourself the most valuable person that you possibly can, and you want to forge relationships with as many people as you can that you come into contact with. You don't need to run around meeting the craft services people and making friends with the caterers or the drivers, because they're not really going to be that involved in whether you come back again. Obviously, be super nice and pleasant and respectful to everyone that you come across. But there are certain people you probably want to go out of your way to forge a bond with. And that is what I have found a lot of success with. And really, I sometimes have found, ironically, that people I'm working with knew somebody else I knew, which is weird. That's how I ended up with a recurring role on Covert Affairs with Piper Perabo. The producer, I don't know what we were talking about, and somehow this name came up, and I said, "Oh, you know Sandra?" And he said, "Yeah," like, because how many Sandras are there? And as the director was walking by, he goes, "Not Sandra," and we both were like, there's 3 of us that know this person, and there was no reason for it. And then as soon as that happened, I just kept getting brought back over and over and over. But that's a fluke, but it's a fun story. And here's how you can actually make that happen rather than fluking it out. So the way to actually make that happen is to develop relationships with people like that. Find something that you maybe do have in common. If it's not a person that you both know, do some research on these people before you show up on set and see if you can find anything in common. I mean, maybe it's just that you have a love for the same type of TV show, because look, if you're on the show and they're making the show, if you can profess to be a fan, then that could be the thing that you have in common. That could be easily enough, because, if it's a sci-fi show, like I was talking about initially, The Expanse, right? It's a sci-fi show. So if you have a great love of sci-fi and you just say to somebody like the director, the producer, when you're sitting around between takes, say, "Hey, did you watch that last episode of Picard? Or did you see the last Star Wars movie? What did you think? Yeah, I didn't really like what they did with Luke. I thought maybe they would go further and, go into the backstory more," and all that kind of stuff, right? You just find all the things you have in common and start talking about them. So the key really is to do some research, and if you have a sense of humor, great. Some people don't. But make yourself memorable in some way. So what is it about you that people might find memorable? Is it your education? Is it you have musical ability, some kind of sporting ability? Do you help certain charities out? What is it that makes you interesting and memorable? And see if you can figure out whether the people you are working with maybe share some of those attributes, and discuss these things with these people you're working with. And I'm pretty sure you will find that they will kind of glom onto you, because they're like, oh yeah, we have something in common. And before you know it, your phone will start ringing again, and your agent will be saying, oh, this wasn't supposed to be a recurring role, but the Expanse called, they're bringing you back. And the other thing you can do, and I always try and do this if I'm around long enough, is I actually think of ideas that my character could be used for. Because once you've done the episode, or once you've read the script, you kind of have a sense of what's going on. And so I kind of just automatically start thinking of ways that this character could be used again. And I will mention these ideas to the producer or the director or the writer, whoever's around, and will listen. And while some people might think, oh my gosh, that's so arrogant, that's so forward, that's crazy, the creative process can be challenging, and they can have these moments where they don't know what to do with characters, with the story, etc., right? So if you can come up with something that inspires them, it's just a twinkling of an idea that they could possibly use, and they think it's a good idea, then you'd be shocked at how grateful they are. They may not say, oh my gosh, thank you so much, that was amazing, but what you may find is that their gratefulness comes through in them calling you and putting you back on the show. So, when I initially auditioned for The Expanse, it was a very small role, and there's a couple of scenes, but it was still pretty small. And I was, called in for a fitting for a uniform, and it was very elaborate. We spent 2 days. There was actually 2 fitting sessions, and so when they were making me a custom uniform, I was thinking to myself, I doubt they would go to all this trouble if they didn't think maybe they could use me again. And so what I wanted to do is, when I was on the set, I was just trying to be as friendly as possible to the other actors, to the director, to the producer, and let them know that I really enjoyed being there, and that I would love to come back and see them again. Because, even though you may think they know these things, and maybe they would even assume these things, it certainly doesn't hurt you to say you are enjoying your time there and you would love to come back and work with them again. And the reason why they will try to bring you back if they can is because they would much rather work with someone that's a known quantity than have to hire a whole new actor and start from scratch, somebody who they don't know how they're going to react. So yeah, they would much rather work with a known quantity, work with a friend, so become their friend. Okay guys, if you have any other questions about what it was like working on The Expanse, the episode I worked on was with Sheree Agadashlu. Actually, she wasn't in my scenes, but I met her on the set. It was one of these sort of United Nations War Room scenes. I believe it was from season 3. And if you have any questions about that, let me know. And if you have any questions about anything I've said today, let me know that too. Otherwise, I hope this was helpful. I certainly wish somebody had been telling me this all along. Otherwise, guys, that's it for now, and we'll talk to you soon.